Can you just give us a quick, inside FBI? Because I know that's just it probably was no different than going to any other office, right? But so many people are like, oh, FBI, what was that like? How was that experience for you? And what did you learn that you can bring into what you do today from it?
Yeah, oh my goodness. It was the best experience of my life. It really was, working there and, being able to serve my country. And it looks, or at least the offices that I was in, looks nothing like TV. So
I'm so happy you're here. Happiness Solved is the place where we explore everything you need to become the best possible version of you. This is Sandee Sgarlata, and today I've got some exciting news for our dedicated listeners. We've just launched our exclusive members only portal. This is your ticket to a world of additional content designed to deepen your understanding and engagement with the Happiness Solved mission. To learn more about all of the exciting benefits, stay tuned until the end of the episode where I will explain in greater detail. For those interested now, head over to happinesssolved.supercast.com. Today is another amazing conversation, so let's get started. Holly, such a great pleasure to see you today. I love your background. You can do it. I believe in you. That was the first thing I saw when you popped up on my monitor. How's everything going? So great to see you
um,
today.
yeah, oh my goodness, Sandy, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here and share all good things.
Yes, yes. So for the audience, Holly Bertone is a midlife comeback coach, which I love that because so many people get to their midlife and we end up starting over. I know I did. But what I was really interested in is that you spent 20 years in consulting and federal government service, primarily at the FBI, where you were chief of staff. But you also struggled with breast cancer, all sorts of things. I'll let you talk about your story. Um, really incredible. So let's dive in. How did you get to where you are today? What is that story that made you want to be this midlife comeback coach?
Yeah, oh my goodness. And I always like starting the story before everything happened because I think so many people can relate. I was the quintessential overachiever and, just really striving to have that career success and thinking that being successful in a career being, I know you're a competitive athlete and, as a competitive athlete, I was a mountain bike racer and, thinking that standing on a podium, getting a medal around my neck, being super successful in my career. And I thought that that was what life was supposed to be. And what happened was on my 39th birthday, I got rock bottom number one, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Mm.
And what happened was I went through the traditional surgery, chemo radiation, and I never got better. I just kept getting sicker and sicker. And then I was
Mm.
diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, which then turned into debilitating chronic fatigue. So it was rock bottom number one, rock bottom number two, and then rock bottom number three. And, and I joke, I was like, that's what us overachievers do. We don't hit rock bottom once. It's got to be multiple times.
Got to do it to the nth degree, right?
Right, right. So what happened was that the fatigue was so bad, I was actually forced to resign. And I was working for the FBI. It was my dream job since high school. And all of a sudden, I find myself not being able to get out of bed, not being able to function. And it wasn't just that my health had hit rock bottom, but my value was so wrapped up in being successful. And I think the stories that we're told, I think especially as women, the stories that we're told when we're growing up is that we're typically either the pretty one, the smart one, or unfortunately sometimes the good for nothing one. And a lot of times we carry these stories and we carry this value with us. And all of that was gone. And so not only did I try to figure out how to heal myself from this, autoimmune disease and debilitating chronic fatigue, but it was also trying to figure out how, like, what does this new life look like? It's like I I can't work. And then when I got my health back, I'm like, well, I don't really want to go back there. So what does this look like? So that's when, I took everything that I learned from holistic health and became a coach and, really focusing on the issues that women in midlife face, not just from the health perspective, but really looking at, we're in a place where we're burned out, we're stressed out, we've got the career, typically we've got a, spouse and older kids and maybe grandkids and then aging parents and community stuff and volunteer stuff. And we do all the things for everyone. We try to get healthier. It doesn't work. We're successful in everything else in our life. So there's really a disconnect there. So I really help women to really go through that gap, find out what is holding them back from getting healthy and how we can revisit this time in our life from a holistic perspective. We think getting healthy is just like eating rabbit food, and it's not. It's this holistic perspective. And I like to say, and what I learned personally going through my own journey is, you know, so often we look at health from a perspective of, I need to lose weight. There's this extra 10, 20, 30, 40 pounds, but it's not the weight that's around our midsection. It's the weight of the world on our shoulders. And that's the sweet spot. That's where I focus on.
I love that because, and I knew you were gonna say that, and I like how you framed that because many times, and I know from personal experience, I was holding on to weight because of what was going on in my mind.
Yeah,
Because women do that. It's a protection.
it is.
And I know I've talked to, multiple people about this. One person in my life, especially. And I'm like, you have to deal with the emotional triggers that are causing you to overeat or why you're holding on to that. And I recently just interviewed, just for the listeners, I have another separate interview that'll probably be released before this one. And we talk about emotional eating in it. And it was a wide opening experience for me because it's not something that's really talked about.
Yeah.
But I find at times now I'm like paying attention. I'm like, I never eat chocolate. I'm eating a piece of chocolate. Like, what's going on in my mind? Like, what's going on? Because that's not something I normally do. And it's just the awareness of it. But I really love how you frame that because success is 80% mindset.
It
People,
is.
I'm going to be saying that till like, that'll probably be the last breath I take. It's like, it's mindset. And I love how you've taken your experience and you're using it to inspire others, because at the end of the day, in order to work through all of these things, you have to recognize that things happen for you, not to you.
Exactly. Exactly. And,
And
and
yeah.
I think so often and you said the magic word mindset. And I think so often we think that we have to do one or the other. Like we have to go, we do the thing. Or we think it's all about the mindset and it's about both together.
Mhm.
You need to have the mindset piece to help you frame so that you can do the things. Because when you do the things without the mindset piece, you're coming right back around to where you were.
I know for sure. And I know for me, like I'm all about, I'm taking this course right now, which has turned out to be just absolutely incredible. It's like the goddess in you or something like that. And it's taught by Margine. And her last name is escaping me at the moment. She worked for T. Harv Eker for decades, and she was
Mm,
actually the very first woman that was one of his trainers. And I really didn't know what the program was about, but there's a retreat in Mexico at the end, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to do it, even if it's just for the retreat." This has turned out to be such a life changing course, and what I'm learning is that that radical self care is more about, or it's not just about, like, because I get a good night's sleep, I eat well, and it's encompassing everything. Because what happens for me, and I'm saying this as a reminder to myself and to the audience, that, you know, I get so caught up in everything that I'm doing because I get to do this for a living and I get to do so many incredible things. And I'm like, oh, I'll go to the gym tomorrow. And then next thing you know, it's been 4 days and I haven't
Yeah.
taken care of that very important piece as an athlete. That's the most important thing we can do for ourselves is to get your body
Right.
moving.
Right. Right.
And it's a challenge, but it's a practice. My message here is it's a practice, right?
Can we talk about that cycle? Because I think
Please, I'd love to.
the statistics that go 92% of New Year's resolutions fail, but it doesn't
Oh yeah,
have to be a New Year's resolution. It can be
right,
just like you said, like I want to, go out and do the thing. And I like to call it base camp, the base camp cycle, because it's almost like we're at the base of the mountain and we want to climb the mountain, whatever that is
right.
in our health, whether it's eating healthy or moving or, whatever that is. And we get so excited. And, my whole thing is all about the comeback story. And, we think of it like this 80s movie montage and we're all like, I have the tiger and I'm going to do it. And we get so excited and the excitement lasts for a couple weeks. And then what
Right.
happens is that it gets hard. It's not easy every day. And then we get discouraged. And then not only that, something happens. Life, right? Life happens to us every single day. It could be a rainy day or extra meetings at work or, an argument with our spouse or a change in a schedule. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything big or catastrophic. It can just be everyday life and it throws us off. And we're
Mhm.
like, yeah, I'm not going to do the thing today. And then I'll do it Monday.
Yep.
And it's this whole perpetual cycle that again brings us, and then we're right back down to base camp again. And we're like, this never works. And then we beat ourselves up. We
Yep.
feel guilty. We're like, something's wrong. Something's wrong with me. Everyone else is doing the thing. Why can't I figure it out?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I've gotten, not that I've gotten past it, but I've come to a place in my life where I'm pretty good about not beating myself up because I understand that everything I do is a choice. And so when I start to go down that rabbit hole and say, oh, you didn't work out again today, I'm like, stop. You made that choice. It's okay. Tomorrow's another day,
Yeah,
you know, period. Like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to allow myself to beat myself up because I made that choice. And you have to live with those choices that we make. Everything in life is a choice. Uh,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And I also found I played tennis on Sunday a couple days ago for 2 hours. And I hadn't played in 2 hours for 2 hours in a while. So I could barely walk the next day because like I'm an athlete. So I, even though I'm 58 years young, I mean, I go out there and you'd never know my age because I'm racing around the tennis court. I don't walk to the baseline. I run to the baseline. I turn around, I'm running backwards and, like I'm full in. And what happens is the next day I'm like, my body's screaming like, so that was my air quote excuse was that, and I did stretch. It's just, I still will find excuses not to do it. Oh, I need to give my body a day's rest. And there is some truth to that as
Right.
because
Right.
my body is, pushing 60, right? So, you know, and it's just interesting. And I love being a student of the mind and figuring it out and analyzing it and, all of that. But yeah, so tell me about what was it like being in the, can you just give us a quick like inside FBI? Because I know that's just like it probably was no different than going to any other office, right? But like so many people are like, oh, FBI, like what was that like? How was that experience for you? And what did you learn that you can bring into what you do today from it?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It was the best experience of my life. It really was, working there and, being able to serve my country. And it looks, or at least the offices that I was in looks nothing like TV. So sorry to
Of course
disappoint.
not.
There's probably offices somewhere maybe that look like that. But I was the one that so my background was in project management. So I was the one that they called in especially after the 9/11 Commission report and the WMD Commission report, to help build new offices. So basically taking disparate offices and programs and then putting them together in, under one roof. So I want to say it was like 5 or 6 different offices. And then I ended up leading the last one that I put together as chief of staff. And my forte was in project management and putting these disparate pieces together, but then also looking at data analytics. So that's a big piece of what I take to what I do today is looking at those disparate pieces because, I think too often we focus on the one thing and we forget to just, take a few steps up and look at it from a bigger picture and say, okay, how do these pieces fit together and why? And when I was, I don't even know, 10 years old, when I was a little girl, one of my favorite things to do was I would take 3 different puzzles, like 500, 1,000 piece puzzles. We had this huge dining room table and I dump them out, mix them up, and put them back together. So it's just how my crazy brain works. But that's why I love working with my
Wow.
clients because it's digging into all these different disparate pieces of their lives and their belief systems and the all the things that are sabotaging their success. And I'm like, okay, we need to remove this, we need to add this, and just looking at all the disparate pieces and then putting them back together. It is so much fun. So I do get to take what I did for the FBI and even though it sounds completely different, chief of staff and FBI and holistic health coach and comeback coach, and it sounds totally different, but it's really the same skill set.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I wanted you to talk about that because, no matter, no matter what you do, was it Steve Jobs said that, you can, I always forget this quote. I need to like put it up in front of me because I say it all the time, but it's something to the effect of, you can look back on your life and you connect the dots and that's how you got to where you are today. So no matter what you have done in your past experiences, there's always something that you can pull to it. And I love the analytical side of that because that's really important piece that
Right.
a lot of coaches may not have. Let's just say, yeah, that's
Yeah.
really awesome. So, if there's somebody listening today saying, "Oh my gosh, I so relate to Holly," what are some things that they can do to start working on their comeback story? Is there steps that you can give, like on a high level, like basic things that they can kind of look at?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have this, I'm all about the 80s montage movie, and Rocky was my favorite, even though it was in the 70s. So, favorite, best comeback story ever. Prove me wrong. So I'll take you through a quick, the Rocky, ROCKY, super quick 5-step process. And obviously with my clients, we go much, much, much deeper and,
Right.
much more in depth. But the R is the rear view mirror. And that's what I say. It's we can't jump in the DeLorean and change what happened, but we can make peace with our past. And we can look at that from a place of forgiveness
Mm.
and forgiveness with others and forgiveness with ourselves and really make peace with our past. And that's where I like to start. And that's actually the hardest. But
Oh,
once the hardest is out of the way, the rest get a lot easier. And then the O is own your ship. That's with a P, like a boat, keeping it G rated. This one is, yeah, this one is personal responsibility. And this one actually can potentially be just as hard. And I really like to look at it from that place of radical responsibility and not from a place of blame or shame, but I am responsible for my health and I am responsible for the decisions that I make. And, and that's, we can even look at this, as a external, internal, kind of validation. Like I don't need to be validated externally. I don't need others to tell me my value. Like I look within, and that is found through that level of personal responsibility. And then the C, and we talked about a few minutes ago, the kind of that doing. This is when the doing comes in. So the first 2 steps, we go inward first. We don't even think about the doing. We just go inward. So the third step is that doing, is creating your future self. And that's the fun stuff. That's when we start to, the manifesting and the visualization and the goal setting and the habit stacking and, all of the fun stuff to really make this come alive and make it happen. And then the K is keep the vision, not the view. And again, we talked about, life is always going to happen. There's always going to be setbacks along the journey. So that is really to not focus on those day-to-day setbacks, but to look at the big picture and to keep your focus on that end goal. And then the why is what I say is going back home to you. And all of these movies, the characters, they're on their journey. But what they found is that it wasn't necessarily about the outcome. I mean, in the very first Rocky movie, he actually lost the fight, but he won the journey. It was who he became. And it's realizing that we have it inside of ourselves the entire time. Like we have this superpower. And this is, you were talking about your inner God. It's like this amazing inside of us. And we're like just finding it and bringing it out and finding that sparkle and finding that confidence and finding that value again. And that is really what the comeback story is coming back home to yourself. So that's the 5-step process that I like to take my clients through.
I love every single bit of that. That was incredible. And I wrote down one word, 2 words that resonate so deeply with me. And that is your future self.
Yes.
Because the older we get, you start, you don't want to dwell on it, but there's days when I think, okay, I'll be 59 this year. And then next year I'm going to be 60. And, you just don't know, right? We don't know how long we have. And again, you don't want to focus on that. What I tend to focus on is that future self, like everything I do is because of my future self.
Yes.
However much longer I have here in this body, I want to be there for my future self because I don't want to get to the end of my life and not have accomplished what I set out to accomplish. One of my biggest fears is untapped potential.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
And that drives me every single day because we all have untapped potential, so I love that. That's just sounds incredible program.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. And Sandee, I think there's 2 pieces to that too, is number one, exactly what you said about that potential is, am I living out my purpose? Is it going to be
Right.
10, 20, 30, 40 years from now? And I'm looking back and saying, oh, I wish I coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Right.
And the other piece of that is just, are we physically able to do the things?
Yes.
My father's in a retirement home and he's, super active and doing his thing. And I go there and some of the women, their bodies are literally broken, and some of the women, they're running circles around me. And I'm like, I want to be like that. I want to be, in my 80s and 90s and running circles around people half my age and saying, oh yeah, this is fun. Right. And to be able to age in that way that you have that purpose and you also have the physical ability to do those things as well.
Oh,
And
for sure.
but you're right. It starts with today. It starts with the decisions that we make today. 20, 30, 40 years from now, it's going to be too late. It's the decisions that we make today that's going to create that future for us.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And I take care of my mom, who's 83, and she doesn't move around very well because she's so sedentary. And I and you can't force it. I'm at this point where I've become the mom, right?
Yeah.
And she's, she jokes, and was like, thanks, mom. But I look at her and I'm like, that's not going to be me. I'm going to be playing tennis when I'm 83 years old. I'm going to be out there running around as best as I can because it's all about just keeping that body moving. And you're right. Today's the day. Right.
100%.
Yeah. So you've got so many amazing things going on. What's next for you?
Oh my goodness. What is next for me this year? My goal is a TED Talk. So that's exciting.
Ooh,
and either a book this year or next year. So
fantastic.
I should say another book. Yeah.
Another book. Right. Because you already have, you already are an #1 Amazon bestselling author. And you're the host of the Your Comeback Story podcast, which sounds incredible. Incredible. Yes. What is the name of your book?
So it's actually it's called Thriving in the Workplace with Autoimmune Disease, which the pandemic kind of made irrelevant at this point because it was written quite a few years ago. So that's my goal this year is to write something that's more along the lines of everything that I teach and talk about.
Well, I'm sure it's still relevant to many people. So that's great.
Yeah.
So, Holly, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we finish up? I know you said that you've got a free gift for everyone.
Yes. Oh my goodness, this has been so great. And I love to connect with your audience. And if you've been listening to this, if you do feel like that you're burned out or you do have the weight of the world on your shoulders, and it's like you're thinking about health and diet and you're like, oh, I can't do this, then I really want to offer a different solution. And one that really I think connects with, especially with midlife women because like I said, it isn't about the weight, it's about the weight of the world on your shoulders. And I've put together a 3 episode, it's a private podcast, it's 3 episodes to really help you to feel healthier and at home in your body, to have your comeback story so that you can wake up and have more energy and really perform at your highest level. And so you can go to podcastholly.com. It's super easy URL to remember, and you can sign up for free. And if you forget, you're like, what was that podcast Holly was talking about? And that's exactly it. It's podcastholly.com.
I love it.
Yeah.
I will make sure that is in the show notes. So for those listening, just go to the show notes, click on the link, and you will have access to that private um, three episode podcast. Oh, I love it. Holly, thank you so much for coming on today. I love everything you're doing. And thank you for being such a bright light in the world to help so many people write their podcast, their podcast story, their comeback story.
Oh, thanks
You
for
can write a
having me on
podcast
this
story
show.
too. Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And once again, my mouse is it's just not working. There we go. This is bizarre. This will be cut off.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what good editing's for.
I hope you enjoyed today's conversation, and as promised, I'd like to give you more details of what you can expect as a member of the Happiness Solved exclusive community. First, you'll have access to a treasure trove of extra podcast episodes. These episodes dive deeper into the topics we discuss, featuring additional expert interviews only found here. But that's not all. As a member, you'll also get access to a series of mindset training sessions. These recordings are tailored to help you understand the how and why your mindset is the most important asset you have, empowering you to achieve your personal and professional goals. And for those of you looking to find a moment of peace in your busy lives, we've got something special. Exclusive guided meditations. These sessions are crafted to help you relax, refocus, and recharge. Whether you're a meditation guru or just starting out, there's something here for everyone. Becoming a member is more than just accessing extra content. It's about joining a community of like-minded individuals, all on a journey to live life to its fullest and become the best possible version of you. So how can you join? It's simple. Go to happinesssolved.supercast.com and sign up. Don't miss out on this opportunity to deepen your journey with us. Again, that's happinesssolved.supercast.com, and it will also be in the show notes. I am so grateful you're a part of our Happiness Solved family, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your continued support. Again, I am so grateful for you, and I hope that you and your family are healthy and safe, and that your lives are filled with peace, joy, and happiness. Take care, everyone.